There is love in this place. Whenever two or more are of us gathered in His name, I found the world is all the same.
Good night, wherever you are joining from. Welcome to another episode of Level Up Your Marriage with Paul and Raquel Blake out of Jamaica. And we are always happy to be on this platform to share on all things of marriage and relationships, especially Christian marriages and relationships. We are indeed we feel very privileged that we have this opportunity to do this. Welcome, Raquel. Another week.
Thank you. Yes, it's good to be here. It's good to be alive, and we just want to pause to thank Brother Dexter Honorary and his team for their effort and for allowing us this opportunity, this privilege to be on stage. So it's another Level Up Your Marriage,
That's right.
and this evening will be very special because we have a wonderful and outstanding couple with us this evening. But before we get to introducing the couple, we are going to be talking about
Maintaining identity in marriage. And this is a topic that I have been wanting to, discuss for a very long time because I think it is very, very important. Maintaining identity in marriage. Something that we deal with every day, Raquel, in our counseling, activities, dealing with different persons, wives and husbands and children sometimes, who, because of all of the dynamics of a relationship, sometimes lose themselves in the process. And I find, especially when persons have been married for a very long time, that the tendency to lose one's self and identity becomes even more pronounced the longer they are married. And so we want to discuss this very important topic tonight and see what lessons we can learn. And because we can't do it alone, we have gotten two of our very special friends to join us. And you'll see them in a little while. These persons have been a part of our lives for the better part of 20 odd years.
yes.
I've known them for a very long time. Persons that we share a very deep relationship with, persons who we have grown up with, basically,
Yes.
and walk the hills and valleys with, shared good times and bad times, and we think that they are very, very much qualified to have this discussion with us. So we look forward to having this discussion with our guest, who is none other than Sister Tamara Hay and Brother Gregory Hay.
Yay, hey there.
Hey. So, how are you doing? How are you doing? Welcome to the program. Welcome to the program. And we are indeed very happy.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah, this has been a long time coming, don't it?
A long time in the making.
Yes.
a long time in the making. So as our audience get ready, remember, wherever you're joining from, whether you are in the UK, you're in Africa, or in the US, or somewhere in the Caribbean, remember, you can always engage us on the platform. You can send in your questions, you can send in your comments, and we will engage you as we have the discussion. Gregory and Tamar, before we get into the meat of the matter, we kind of pick your brains a little bit. How long have you guys been married?
I think
23 years. 23 years and counting.
Yes, and I remember I was at your wedding. I remember. As a matter of fact, I think I met Tamara probably about a year or so before you got married, and I was at that wedding, and it was indeed. I can't believe it's 23 years already. It's 23 years.
Time fly when you're having fun,
Yeah, when you're having fun. That's good. That's good.
Time surely flies. Yes.
Tamara, what is the best thing about being married?
Putting me on the spot. Well, first of all, thank you for having us. As I said, it's been a long time in the making, and we're really happy to be here tonight. The best thing about being married, there's so many things, but I'm just gonna say just having the companionship, having this person that you can walk with, this person that understands you and knows you inside and out.
Mhm.
I can be myself, I don't have to worry, right? So the companionship for me is the best thing.
Who is happily married will always stress the importance of the companionship and what being able to walk together,
Yeah.
being able to have all
Hmm.
things or most things in common,
Common.
and that is
Right.
indeed good, right? And regardless of what is happening, we are able to work through the different things, because we don't want to give anybody the impression that marriage is just a bed of rose that you lie down
Exactly.
in and turn at leisure.
Right.
It takes work,
Marriage,
man.
yes,
Takes
marriage
Takes
can
work.
be
work.
challenging, and it takes a lot of work, right? But one of the things I realize
Yes.
about marriage also is like it's like fine wine. It gets better with age.
Oh, yes. Gets better with
Mhm.
age.
Yes,
That's true. When you cement, you settle,
yes.
you
When
know,
when you cement,
because
that's
it's
it.
really good.
Wonderful, wonderful. All right. So our topic tonight is maintaining identity in marriage, and we just want to set the stage that a lot of times, because of the fact that persons are together, that sometimes we lose ourselves in the relationship. We become well. The Bible says that we are one,
Yes.
right? But one does not necessarily mean that you're joined at the hip. Right? So we want to explore tonight some of the challenges that come with being married in terms of losing our identity, and really to understand basically what when we talk about identity, what is it that we are talking about? How do we identify ourselves? So we separate our different personalities from the relationship itself, if it can be separated, because again, sometimes it really can't be separated. But this is something that Racket and myself, being counselors, we would have had the experiences of persons basically losing their entire selves in a relationship. In other words, they persons get married, and before you got married, you had a certain, you had your own hobbies, you had your own likes, you had your own dislikes, you had your own circle of friends, and all of that. Your goals. Some persons had their different career goals and all of that. And sometimes in the relationship, persons kind of lose themselves along the way, where they don't go after their goals and dreams anymore. They sometimes drop their hobbies and likes to facilitate their wives or husbands, and so a lot of times what will happen along the way is that you basically become a mirror image of the other person. Right? It's like you're looking at yourself in the mirror, and all that you can see is you're seeing yourself through the eyes of the other person. And so we want to look at some of that this evening. And by the way, if I am true to myself, I think that all of us suffer that at some point in time, especially in the early stages of marriage.
Yeah.
Right?
What do you think?
If you're, repeat, Paul,
No,
if you're
no,
true to
I was saying that I think that all of us at some point in time may suffer that, especially in the earlier stages of marriage, right? And I'll give you an example. When Raquel and I just got married, Raquel was studying. Raquel was doing her masters when we got married, and I found that a lot when I used to sit under Raquel's assignments. I used to help her with her assignments.
Right. Help, help,
Yeah, yeah,
help.
yeah. Yeah, but but listen,
I wonder if you heard Gregor laughing.
so it sounds like somebody can relate, don't it? Yeah, and why I said that is that even though I mean, it was a joy for me to help Raquel, but I found that
Yeah.
Yeah.
I found that with helping her, I was not necessarily pursuing a lot of what I wanted to do because I was so focused on trying to make sure that she graduate with the masters because after that time the whole studying thing, you start take away your playtime and all kind of other things.
So you want to
So
make
All
sure
of
I,
that
wa-
them.
I, wa- I wanted her to
successfully
get
complete
it
this
over and
program.
done with. So
Yes.
that we could get back to business as usual, right? And
Yes.
so
Mhm.
yeah, so I use that particular example that if you are not aware, then eventually what you'll do is that you will kind of lose yourself in I don't want to even say it's not facilitating in just sometimes even helping somebody in a very genuine way, helping your spouse in a very genuine way.
Yeah.
Yeah, we get it.
So
And yeah,
go ahead, man, go ahead.
I'm gonna say we start to do what is known as rote living, the cycle. Yes, I want to call it that, rote living. So it means then that we are just keeping each other going, but not necessarily fulfilling our true desire, not necessarily chasing or what we want, our goals. And even though we are one joined, but we are two individuals. And I think this is what makes marriage very interesting. And and when you're together and once communication is a key factor in a relationship, then things will work out. Things will work out. I mean,
Yeah.
we discuss, we have deep, deep conversations. I call them the conversations that give you the big blow. You get a big lick. You know?
Yeah.
So we have to have it.
Blow for
And
blow.
yeah, and then these are the conversations that actually opens up the eyes to say, you know what, I'm really not, I'm not really fulfilling my personal desires. I am just here facilitating my partner, my husband, my wife. I'm just facilitating them, and so end up in a rote living, just going through the motion, and it happens with our children. So it is something that is really, really, really. This conversation is really needed.
Mhm.
It's really needed. I think a lot of persons are going through it.
Yeah.
We're just going through the motion and not necessarily living, and we take it for granted. That's true.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
I love the conversation. This might have to be a two-part conversation. So,
I think Gregory want
yeah,
Greg, you have
yes, go ahead,
Gregory
Gregory.
wanted to add or not
Well,
yet?
that's not what Tamara said. Yeah, man, I can. Good night, everyone, once again. What I realized that as a young man, when I first got married, it's always my desire to make my wife happy. A happy wife is a happy home, right? Right, Paul? Yes. So it was my desire to make Tamara very happy. So I got all out, and some cases neglecting self. Especially in the earlier part of the marriage, I want to concretize things and cementize things. So yeah, it does happen. You lose yourself sometimes. It does happen. But as a marriage matures, you find better way of dealing with it and making a balance, forming that balance, which is
Yeah.
very important
Yeah.
for every marriage.
And the marriage will only mature, Paul, when individuals mature.
Right.
So that's the only time the marriage will mature. So it is when you actually do those deep reflection, soul searching, and say, am I really being selfish by allowing my husband to be doing everything just centered around me? It's sitting with self, and saying, all right, how can we change this? What can we do? What is it? We have the conversation. What do you want to do? What goals do you want to pursue? How can I help you to pursue those goals without losing each other? So we have to have conversations.
Mhm.
True, Raquel.
And definitely, I'm agreeing with you. And I'm based on what you said there. I'm just thinking that to have those conversations, it requires some vulnerability, it requires honesty, and it requires a feeling of safety, a safe space in the relationship that I can feel comfortable to say Paul, or Paul can feel comfortable to say Raquel, that I've been assessing, I've been thinking about our relationship, and I think we need to make these changes. But it requires honesty, and sometimes sometimes this might sound weird, but sometimes couples are afraid to be honest with each other. And as you talk about maturing, that's part of the maturity, where you can feel, as Tamara and Gregory said earlier, where you have those deep conversations that might be hard conversations that will now
Yeah.
get you to the point where the relationship can grow.
Yeah.
You know.
But and another aspect that we can look at too, which I think is very important, is the whole idea of being willing to give each other space to grow.
True.
Because I honestly think that sometimes as couples we are sometimes threatened by the growth of our partners, our spouses, because we somehow many times think that they will outgrow us, and if they outgrow us, then they will leave because they no longer have any. And if you know how many married couples struggle with that kind of thing, right? And one of the things about relationships is that you can't grow in fear. People, you have to give people the room to grow,
Yes.
right? Whether it is by virtue of the different goals that they have, whether it's academically or whatever. You have to give persons the room that they need to grow, and also to facilitate the growth. Right? And there's absolutely nothing wrong with as married persons that we are pursuing our different avenues in life. What makes us happy? And I use this example. Raquel and I married for 17 years, but Raquel and I have two very different personalities. Right? We are not twins.
When
we,
it's ident-
we love each other dearly, but our personalities and the things that we like, the things that move us to joy, are not the same things, right? I will read I read certain books that Raquel have absolutely no interest in reading, right?
and I books that
And
similarly he has
Raquel
no
will read
interest in
certain books
reading.
that I have absolutely no interest in reading, but it doesn't mean that I can't appreciate.
Yes.
And I think that, yeah, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead, Tamara. Yeah.
Not having everything in common. If
True.
I mean,
Yes,
if
true.
Gregory and I were the same, how boring that would be.
Yes.
I mean, I would know what it is that he would be doing and what he's thinking and what his dreams were. So having the difference is great. It's great, and
Yeah.
it leads itself to have the conversation, the communication, because every day you have something different to talk about.
Mhm.
Every day, yeah.
Learn.
Exactly, exactly. So difference is good.
And just
Yeah.
to add to that, I always said, like, right growing up, I don't want to marry someone with the same profession like myself. I just always said that. Yeah, because I mean, you be talking about the same experiences, pretty much the same encounters. There's no variety in discussion. You understand? But the thing is that though, with Tamara and I, we are north and south in terms of profession. Even though I'm an educator, which she
Yep,
is also.
then crossover.
Yes, I sort of crossover. So it's a good mix. Like I talk about my full time job and I talk about education as well. So that's a good mix. So it keeps the spice going. The variety in discussion. Very important. Yeah.
Yeah. And maintaining your individuality is very, very important, because if you are feeling stifled or feeling as if you are not reaching your truest potential or your fullest potential, then that is when you actually start to keep everything inside. And this is where the breakdown in the marriage will actually start. Because here I am with somebody that I cannot share. I want to know when I am at my lowest, at my weakest, I can come and say, boy, Greg, today did rough. Today did, boy, me need to change my job. Or yes, I love my job today. But every day it is different. But to have the person next to you to say, all right, boy, I'm gonna know how long. And you can get that support. It is good. So having your own identity, and it is also good to have friends outside of the marriage friends. You and Raquel, we are friends. We are marriage friends, but we have I have friends outside of marriage, and it is okay. It is okay because guess what? Those friends might be the friends that I just like to go chill with those little bit. And as I said, the common we don't share. I don't like football, but Greggy will sit down and watch football.
That's true. That's right.
And I have to understand that when it is his turn to just want his individual space, it is okay. It is not saying that he doesn't want me around or he doesn't love me. No, and this is where maturity comes in to say, all right, this is his time. I need my time. I want to go do what I want to do at this particular moment. He wants to do him. And then we come back and say, all right, how was it like a free time? But
Yeah, Tamara made a very important point there. When it come on to like Olympics and World Cup, that's my time, and she respects that,
mm,
and she also shares in my time as well. Sometimes,
yeah,
and sometimes Tamara likes to like watch like dance videos, contemporary dancing. I know that's her time. So as she's watching her videos, I am probably watering the plants or doing
doing
something else,
something that
washing
you
the
like.
car.
Yeah.
So I try to maintain that space between us. That's very important. Me time is very important in
Yeah.
any marriage.
I watch TV. It's just done 5 minutes. Rarely you get Raquel Stone for more than 5 minutes
No,
watch
man,
TV.
depend on what it is.
Right?
It
But
depends, right?
yeah, man, I do understand. You see, one of the things that oftentimes we run into is that we kind of think a lot of times that because our spouse need their personal time, that it is somehow neglecting us or neglecting the relationship, but it's part of who we are as human beings.
And it actually should enhance the
It should
relationship.
exactly. Yeah, man. I love when Raquel tell me that she going out with the girls, because then I can turn up the TV as loud as I want. I can. But let us segue a little bit, because as we discuss maintaining our identity, we also have to look at what are some of the signs
Hmm.
that people, couples are losing themselves. And I want to bring out a couple of them, and we discuss them. Well, we have a comment online that says,
From
uh,
Leslie Nikki.
Leslie Nikki says, very lovely and admirable
Couple.
couple indeed.
They're
And
talking about you, Tamara and Gregory.
Carlene Ann says, very, very commendable
Couple
couple
and
and friends.
friends.
All right.
You have Carlene and so yes,
I,
yep.
I think Tamara and Gerger might know these persons, but we're happy to have you on the platform. Anyway, wonderful. Uh, a couple of things I want to bring up. One of the first things we can look at when to recognize that you're losing yourself is when you no longer have any personal goals of your own. I think that probably is one of the ones that stand out.
Yes.
And at the beginning, I had mentioned that the longer persons are married, this is more pronounced, that persons lose sight of their own goals and aspirations. Um, I think as we have the discussion, it is important to for persons to feel that it is all right to have their own goals.
Yes. And then okay, go ahead.
Yeah. it is good to have your own goals, but it is good again to communicate those goals, because what you don't want, yeah, what you don't want is for me to just get up and say, I am just going to study. I'm going on a European tour,
Sure.
because at the end of the day, you're committed to somebody else. And so you can't just get up and do it. So you have the conversation to say, all right, these are my desires, these are my dreams, these are my goals, and let's discuss it. How I want to grow, I want to bloom, I want to be my fullest potential, I want to be me. How are we going to work together to facilitate that growth? How are we? Because things are going to get little ruffled, because it's not going to be easy, because we're two different individuals and we have our separate lives, even though we're have a together life.
Yeah.
But so we have to work together as one. We have to sit down and say, all right, I would like to go study. Because suppose Greg come and say, you want to go study to the tour, we can go study at the same time. So this the communication is important. So you sit down and you have the conversation, and if it's somebody who means you well, which I hope that most persons have somebody who means them well, then it will not be seen as resentment. It will not be seen as, oh, you feel like you're rich. And so you're going like, so this person will now say, okay, I see and I know. And one of the things that Gregory always does, he say, you see, you never know your full potential, you know.
True.
So,
True.
and what this does, it helps me to always want to be better,
Mhm.
to be better, because if he's seeing this in me, and sometimes we don't see it, sometimes we need somebody else to pull things out, and you know, so the communication is a must. It's a must.
Yeah, just to add to what Tamara said though, from the onset, I mean, early in the marriage, I was studying, right? I said to Tamara, as soon as I'm finished, you're going to study. She's like, really? I said, yes, really. And then she did study. So we have to communicate
Obedient wife.
and push each other. Paul made a point that Paul made a point just now that one of the challenges in a marriage is that sometimes one partner seems to be out outperforming, or I don't know if that's the right word, the other
Yeah,
one.
yeah,
So we tend to just push each other, but yet still maintain our individual identities. It's a very thick balance.
yeah.
But we do that. We push that so much. Yeah, man. Yeah.
It's exactly how it should be. I remember
Yeah.
if Raquel and myself, Raquel, when we got married, Raquel was studying. I think Raquel was finishing her masters when we got married, and I mean, well, there was no possible way that both of us could have been studying at the same time, because we would have probably gone crazy. But um, right after Raquel finished her masters, I went and I started my one. It never I didn't complete it until many years after, but that's another story. But and all of our relationship has always been like that. When whatever we have to do in terms of our personal goals and dreams, we have always had a discussion about it before. We have never had a roadblock where both of us want to do our thing at the same time, because in a and this is where the whole idea of selfishness cannot come into play. When we're talking about growing a relationship, you have to be willing to give up sometimes some of yourself also,
Right.
which is very important.
Right. That's it. That's definitely want to commend what Greg and Tamara said, what we are saying here, because some persons even in a marriage might figure that, that person will always want to be the one progressing and then leaving one partner behind. So there has to
Yeah,
be a good
there
balance.
has to be a balance.
There
There
has to
has
be
to
a
be a
balance.
balance.
Otherwise, there will be resentment, and see a similar thing where Tamara said, you feel like you're rich and so you always want him to be studying and buying the car and doing this. But the idea is that in partnership, in your marriage, where you are now working on your goals together, but also separately,
Yeah.
you have to take turns, because while you're studying, if you're studying all the time, you're while I'm studying, it's important that the rest of the family continues. So
Yes.
if both persons are studying, what's gonna happen? You know.
Yes.
So there
True.
has to be a good balance where
Yeah.
one person is studying, then the other person is giving support, and then
Right.
while the other has stopped studying and the husband is studying, so the support
And it
and
works.
giving and it
It
works
works
hand
with
in hand with just about
just about
anything.
every area. Uh, Comments. Yeah. Go ahead, Gregory.
You heard me?
Yeah.
Right. What I realized though is that Tamara made a comment earlier where she said that I often say to her, you know, you don't know your true talent because she is multi talented. I tell you, I don't know, and it's like in the last 5 years of our marriage, Tamara is showing some signs that I never saw in the first years in terms of talent. Tamara is now a contemporary dance teacher. Can you imagine that, Paul? I never fathomed this. I never fathomed this. I never fathomed this in all my life. I could never envision this. Yeah, yeah. I'm no, I'm carrying I'm bringing to a point. I'm going to a point I want to make.
Uh-huh.
And you know, she even carried students in national, get goal and all these things.
What?
Tamara is a decorator with everything, you know. But what I realized, Paul and Raquel, is that we have to encourage personal growth.
Yes. True.
We
Yes.
must
True.
encourage personal growth, right? You can't hold on your partner. Your partner is going in a particular direction. Foster that direction, foster that
Yes.
growth, you know,
Yes. True.
encourage that growth.
Yes.
I
That's
mean,
true.
I never thought that in all of my life I will be at Edna Manley School of Dancing for like the whole summer, sitting down waiting on Tamara to do our session. I mean, I was like, really? I never
That's
fathomed that.
true.
But we
Yeah.
have to be there for each other,
Yeah.
Yeah.
fostering that growth, that development. Don't stim
Yes.
it, but you know, encourage it. Yeah, man.
Yeah. So I hear you saying, Gregory, that a part of not losing our identity is actually to help is to nurture each other. Right?
Yes,
Yes,
exactly,
yes,
exactly.
yes.
We have to nurture each other. Which now the next point that we are going to bring out is very important.
Yes. You know.
One of the things again about people losing their identity in the marriage relationship is when their lives revolve around children. The
Or
children.
just your life only around your
Or your life
spouse.
just revolves around the spouse
Only around your
only,
spouse. Mm-hmm.
right? There, from the rising of the sun to the going down of the same. Right? And I think I brought it out when we were talking today or yesterday that if you look at the statistics, many divorces occur when children leave home.
Mm-hmm.
When children leave home, the divorce rate spikes,
Because there's no
right?
more point of
Because
commonality.
when children leave, there's no more commonality, there's no common ground,
Mm-hmm.
right? Nothing was being nurtured in all of these years, and we know we have our children roughly for um we have our children for say 18 21 years. Well, I honestly believe that children are not supposed to leave home until they're about 25, but that's another story. We'll have another discussion on that. Yeah, we find that when this happens, when children leave home and form their own independence, that a lot of times spouses lose themselves in the entire relationship. They don't know who they are. You wake up in the house and you're married to a virtual stranger and you didn't know. Yeah, man, go ahead.
That's that is so true, so true.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but for us, one of the thing that we try to maintain is, apart from taking care of self, is to take care of the union, because it is something that you definitely have to nurture. And so we are very intentional about our union, very, very intentional. And yes, we are very intentional
Yes.
about our union, very intentional. It is something that you have to nurture, you have to plan for it, you have to sit down and you have to discuss where you this is a goal as well, and it is also who we are. We are one, and so we have to make plans. One of the thing for us is we have our date nights. We have our date nights. And the date night is it doesn't have to be anything expensive. It can just be
Yeah.
Gregory probably taking home a meal, and I decide to just fix up a little centerpiece for the table and we sit down and watch a movie. But it is spending the time together and doing it without the children.
Mhm.
You know, we send them off who needs to go, but this is our time because this is our time. Yeah, who needs to go? Auntie, uncle. That's why we have godfather, godmother, aunties and uncles. We ship them off and it is fine. They'll be fine. It's when the village comes in. They'll be
That's right.
fine. But if we don't spend the time to take care of the union, then it means that individually we're going to be falling apart. And once we
Yes.
start to fall apart, the union is going to fall apart.
Yeah.
And if the
Correct.
union falls apart, then the family will fall apart.
Yeah, the family will fall
And
apart.
so
You
the
know,
union was created and cemented by God. And so we have to nurture that. So date
Tamara,
nights and
you said you said
yes.
something, Tamara, that I really want to zero in on, and I'll give an example. When before Rakan and I got married, Raquel used to go Caribbean lectureship like every year. I mean, Raquel was religiously at Caribbean lectureship. After we got married,
Mhm.
Raquel stopped going, and I didn't go to Caribbean lectureship until probably about
Over
things
4 years
was
ago.
about, yeah, 4 years ago. But
Mhm.
the first two times I went to the Caribbean lectureship, I went alone.
Yes.
And I noticed that when I went Caribbean lectureship, everybody come with them smaddy. Well, somebody for those who don't speak, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And,
Mhm.
when I came back the last time, I said to Raquel, I am not going to Caribbean lectureship alone again, right?
That's right.
Yes.
That's right.
And
Yes.
why I
That's right.
remember it, why I remember is what you just said a while ago about being intentional, right?
Hmm.
Mhm.
You see, our relationship a lot of times, a lot of time it comes down to what we think we can afford. But intentionality has nothing to do with what we can afford. Intentionality has to do with what you want to do and the outcome that you want to get from it, which is important. Yeah, and so I like that word that you use, because one of the things that will cause persons to lose their identity in a relationship is the whole thing of not being intentional, not being intentional
Yeah.
about your own growth, not being intentional about the growth of your spouse, and not being intentional just about the growth of the relationship.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Correct.
Mhm. Yeah.
So we set a goal sometime last year that we're gonna go on 50 dates. We set that goal. Yes. And we
Okay.
what you reach now?
20 enough. 2050 yet.
We're reaching 50
Yet.
yet, but
Yet.
we set some timelines to work with. And believe you me, it's such a nice time. We said tomorrow going so I said, really? Yeah, man. It just invigorates the marriage. Put a little oomph to it again. You understand? So
Mhm.
yeah, we set some timelines and try to adhere to them.
Yeah.
It's very refreshing. Yeah.
Don't let the
Our
children get.
anniversary, Paul.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, man, go
Our
ahead.
anniversary. Our anniversary is a special time. I mean, we don't always have to go down on the North Coast, but our anniversary is a time that we spend together. Me and him.
Yes.
No
Yeah.
children.
No
No
children.
children, no children involved. Yes, and I do agree. I am in that position, Gregory, that even if I don't want to celebrate it, it will be celebrated.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, true.
It is
Yes.
not it is not optional.
No.
There are
Right.
some things in our relationship
Things
that are not
not
optional.
optional. Mhm.
Birthdays and anniversaries are not optional.
Yes.
Those are given.
Yes. Yes. And you see, one of the things too, you see, Paul, is when we talk about having our children being the center of our lives, it is really something that can just rip every relationship apart. I mean, as simple things. Say both of us might be lying on the bed, and our son decides to come into the room. Where does he want to go? He wants to go in the middle. So he wants to go in between mommy and daddy. But he knows that the middle is not for him. Mommy needs to be next to daddy. And then he's going to choose now which side he wants to be on. But
Yeah.
mommy is going to be next to daddy. Yeah, so he chooses which side. But it's the small things like these that really enhances the relationship and helps us to grow together. Because as I say, when you check it out, if I allow my life to just revolve around my children, then I'm going to have a total stranger. And sometimes, I might ask Greg to do something. I might ask Greg, say, Greg, can you do this for me? And he's like, so call the one then. I said, no. At the end of the day, I'm me and you going to live together.
Just start
I
practice
mean,
early,
so I have to
Paul.
start practice
Early
learning.
practice.
Yeah. I mean, the children will soon leave out. They're
Yeah.
going to move out, and it's just going to be both of us. I'm not going to have anybody else to call. I'm going to have to say, Gregory, come. So we depend on each other. Yes.
True.
But being intentional, and that is important.
Hmm.
Some of the comments that are coming in. Leila says, keep pushing. God bless you both. Bless you all. Lorna Gentle says he always supports his wife in whatever she does. Wow. So Gregory start
All
blushing.
right, Gregory.
And she said that is very good. Helen Walker says, that is why you guys have to learn to understand your partner,
So you can
so you
move
can
forward
move
together
forward together.
and grow
Wonderful, right? And she said that is so true. Quality time spent
with your
with
partner.
your partner. And Lorna said again, they do everything together.
That's what I admire
That's what
about
I
them.
admire about them. So you have a fan club.
We have evidence.
Yes.
You have a fan club. Another thing, I tell you, we start these discussions hoping that they'll finish in an hour, but this one can't even be an hour because we are 43 minutes in already, and we don't even start the
Wow.
surface yet, right? But what about hobbies and personal interests? And this one is big for me. Um, you know, Tamara and Gregory, and Raquel know I have some strange hobbies and I have some strange interests that Mrs. Blake has no interest in. But one of the things that I love about Raquel, Raquel, if you see all of the plants in my yard, it's me plant them, you right?
Everybody knows. Everybody knows.
Yeah.
I just water when you need to water them.
But Raquel wants to know all of the name of the flowers, and all of that. But even though she might not be a plant person per se, but she has an appreciation for what I do,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it is what keeps me wanting to do it. Right? Because every now and then I get tired of the flowers and
Yes.
decide say I'm not going to plant anymore. But the fact that she has an interest in it, no, we're raising rabbits, right? Again, Raquel is Raquel has now become a part of the rabbit family, even though she don't even know how them reach in the pen. But that's another thing. But you see, these shared interests, right? Shared
Mhm.
interests, and sometimes even as Gregor rightly said, that we can also help our spouses to bring out their own potential, because sometimes you have
Yeah.
Mhm.
you have hobbies that You didn't even know you did have gifts that you don't even know that you have.
Yes.
That's
Yeah.
true. That's true.
Still unearthing.
It's true.
Yeah, yeah, like Tamara and
Okay.
decoration.
Mhm.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and it is important that we help to nurture each other, nurture. I don't want to say nurture the fire within us, right?
Yeah.
Because Greg and Tamara, relationships can, let us be real. Relationships can become boring and monotonous.
Oh yes. Yeah.
You
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
can
So
get
we have
up,
to be careful with it.
yeah, man. You can get up doing the same old every day until it
Mm-hmm.
loses its entire flavor and meaning. And
Mm-hmm.
you
Remember
know,
the
I
word
remember,
roots
Road to
um,
living.
living, right?
Not
yes,
living.
yes, you hear,
Roots living.
couples complain about that they are together, but them live like brother and sister. I don't
Or
want to live with my sister.
roommates.
Mhm.
Right?
Yeah,
I
roommates.
I
You
don't want
understand?
Yes.
I agree.
I don't want
I
no
agree with you
roommate.
on that one.
Right?
Yes.
But
I think we just have to say.
doesn't
Go
it
ahead,
have
Paul.
to do with what? Doesn't it also have to do with what people settle for?
Yes.
Because the only way
It
you can reach that stage is if you settle for it.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
It really does, Paul. It really does reach that stage one again to you not being intentional about what is it that you want and the type of relationship that you want. I know I am not a boring person. I can't deal with the boring. And so we have to find ways of spicing up the relationship
Yep.
because again, you have to be creative, and again, you can only do this if you're with the right person, and so it is very, 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 very important.
You find the right person.
Yeah, it's hard sometimes for some people, but I know once you're with the right person who is going to support you and continue to nurture you, then it's really not that difficult because I remember before getting married, I was like, wow, do I really want to do this? Do I really want to spend all my life with one person? What am I going to be talking about? Every every day we're going to be doing the same thing, but thanks be to God, every day has been a different day.
Different.
Every day
Yeah.
is a new day. Every day comes with its own challenges, with its own beauty. Every day is just something new to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
Something new. But we have to know what we want and work towards it. We
Relationship,
have to
what
know
it
what we
is.
want. Yeah.
Yes.
And then marriage is like an evolution. It always changes. It's transient. I mean, I can remember years ago I was
According to research, right, Raquel?
according to
According to research.
Yeah.
yeah, we find. I mean, look at myself. I years ago I was into Rottweilers, big breed dogs, and all this stuff.
Mhm.
Now I'm into flowers. I mean, who would have thought that? I have this, you know, have this intense connection to flowers.
Yeah.
Yes,
It
yes.
relaxes me, gives me joy. So it's marriage just changes, and that's
Yeah.
what keeps our marriage, on the right path.
Yes. I am in the beauty of the flowers. Yeah.
And everybody got Tamara plant like
Yes,
that.
Tamara.
I am, I am just in the beauty of the flowers. So when these flowers bloom, I go take a picture. I go up, do a floral arrangement with this. So that's the partnership.
It's
You
right
know.
there.
When look at Tamara and like materials. I mean, she makes materials for the dancers. Right now, I know almost every material
At Pings.
And things.
Purchase. LPS are-
LPSR. Yeah, I'm into fabric now.
you know, I mean, we're having so much fun here. We're having so much fun here, and as Gregory with his training and background talk about that, the marriage is if marriage is evolving and improving and changing. I also want to just add that we have to give each person the permission to change too. The
Yes.
Raquel that Paul married 17 years ago is a different Raquel
Right,
today.
Yeah.
The Paul that I
right,
married
Yeah.
right.
17 years ago is a different
True.
Paul. So we have to
It's
give,
More belly.
yeah, we have to give each other permission to grow and to improve, not with the belly.
That's
yeah.
even so, we
But
have to
even
work
though,
and adjust. We do, you know.
yes, and even so, we have to, we cannot be selfish with it, in giving room, because, sometimes you give person space,
Yes.
and sometimes the space might not be positive because persons decide to, oh, I know can go a little further and I can go a little further. So
Yeah.
again, the communication is key. The
Yes.
communication is key, and we have to do the reality check. All right, so let's use the education. All right, you can't go all the way because after you, it's gonna be me. And remember, we have the children in the mix, and remember, we also have the Lord's
Other
church to take care of.
responsibility.
We have
Yeah.
other responsibilities.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. True.
So
True.
it cannot be selfish where you're just gonna take the space and you're just going to run with it. You
Yes.
have to remember it's not all about you, it's about us. So
Yeah.
after I would have done my part, then it's time for you. And then what are we going to do together for this area? And how are we going to work as a unit for the other area? So
Yes.
space is good, but it has to be managed, and we have to do the
Sure.
reality checks.
True.
Yes, that's true. But you said that, Tamara, one of the things that is also important in all of this is that while we are nurturing those things, we must not also forget that our relationship is God centered. Because
That's
Yes.
right.
Yes. Yes.
at the
Yeah,
Yes.
end of the day, even
that's
even
it.
though even though we are loving and pleasing each other, the
Yeah.
ultimate the ultimate our ultimate object is to please God, right? and
Yes.
and so everything that we do in our relationship, that we need to ask, is this pleasing to God? Because the truth is, we can nurture each other and help each other grow and all of that, but is it to God's glory?
True.
So we
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
always comes back to the, when we grow in this relationship, is God pleased with the effort that we have put in?
With
Or
the
because we can also grow in our relationship for ourselves, to the
Yeah.
exactly.
yeah,
To the
to the
detriment of
detriment of
our
Yeah.
God,
That's true.
right?
Yeah.
and your partner too.
And your
That's
partner,
true.
Mhm.
right? And so, it's
Mhm.
always necessary for us to remember where our foundation lies, because um
Mhm.
in what I think, one of the things that counseling has done, where, for Raquel and I, looking at different kind of relationships. I mean, it sometimes when you look at the level of selfishness that exists among couples, it is
Yeah.
amazing.
It is.
Mm-hmm.
It
When
is.
we as human
Yeah.
beings get into our selfish mode, and decide that we
Mhm.
are going to go after what is best for us, to the detriment of
Whether
Mm-hmm.
you
our
like it or not.
Whether you
our
Yes.
like it or
Whether
not.
you like it or not.
whether
Yeah.
you like it or not, to the detriment of our
Mm.
children. Sometimes we mess up our children because of our own selfishness.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
True.
And a lot of it has to do with the fact that we forget that who is the foundation of our relationship? God.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Because no matter how we please ourselves, if God is
And
not.
this is why
Yes, go ahead, Tamara.
yeah. And this is why it is good to have that reflective time, that time apart, because this is now where you're going to sit and say, all right, what am I doing? Am I doing this with my action honor God? Because if we're honoring God, it means then that we're honoring each other in the relationship.
Yeah.
If God is the center, and so we have to have that reality check, that we have to step back from the hustle and bustle and in pursuing all the happiness and the finance and the status and all of that. We have to step back and say, all right, Lord, is it really worth it? Is it really worth it? Am I going to destroy my relationship just because, just for, so you have to do the reality check.
Yep.
Been something else. Has been something else.
Can you imagine? We're 54 minutes into our discussion already.
Already?
Wow.
Oh, time is flying, man.
Time is flying. Time is flying.
So we have
So,
we have done the introduction.
so, so we're actually saying that this is part one. hopefully we will get to
Yes.
invite
In
you again.
essence, that's what you're
In
saying.
essence,
Yes.
You know, um, don't need to answer now, but you know, as we kind of get ready to wrap up, you know, here's a reflection question that I want to put out there for our audience, for all of us to think about as couples, and you know, those who are listening. What steps can you take to maintain your identity
Mm-hmm.
while deepening your marriage?
Yeah.
You know, because it's important. We in all of what we have said this
yeah.
evening, it's important that we maintain our individual identity, but it's also important that we deepen our marriage.
Mm-hmm. True.
You know,
True.
so and one of the points that is recurring in Tamara, that is Tamara's point. You know, the point of some space to reflect, some time to get by yourself and assess. Look at, you know, how are you doing as an individual? How are you doing in your marriage? You know, what's working, what's not working, what are the changes that need to be made. So that element of reflection is so important,
Mm-hmm.
Tamara. And so I think this
Yeah.
is a good question that we are putting out there. You know, what steps can you take to maintain your identity while deep in your marriage? You know, it's
Yes.
important.
Yeah.
So we love to hear your thought. You know, what has worked for you. So we normally, Paul will share our email address and our contact number. So if you want to reach out to us, if you want to share your ideas, if you want to share what has worked for you, what are the struggles that you have found in your marriage, send us a message, send us a comment so that we can allow you to join our newsletter so that you can be in constant contact with us. And we hope to see you again next week, you know?
Yes. Tamara and Gregory,
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
thank you so much for coming on Level Up Your Marriage tonight and for the wonderful discussion that we have been having. I mean, the discussion has gone so much that I didn't realize that time had passed, right?
Yeah.
You know,
I just warming up in a Paul. I just warming up.
I realize,
Ready to talk.
I realize. You know, as we close, remember that marriage should enhance, not erase who you are.
That's
Right?
right.
You
That's
are,
right.
Right.
you know, you are two individuals on the same journey,
That's good.
and we ought not to lose sight of
Yes.
that, or lose sight of the fact that
No.
God had created us to share in this wonderful union, this wonderful thing called marriage. So this has been Level
Yes.
Up Your Marriage with Raquel and Paul Blake, and with our guests tonight, Brother Gregory Hay, Sister Tamara Hay, members of the Morant Bay Church of Christ here in Jamaica, and part of our friendship group, our circle, for the last 20 odd years. And we are indeed very, very happy that you have come and spent time with us. And I'm sure that many persons will benefit from this discussion. Thank you so much, Tamara and Gregory. If you
Thank you
are,
for having us.
yes, wonderful, wonderful. If you want to become a part of our community, you can email us at levelupyourmarriagecoc@gmail.com. That's levelupyourmarriagecoc at gmail.com. And you can also contact us in on our phone number. That's 876-835-6524. That's 876-835-6524, or 876-421-6722. That's 876-421-6722. Until next time, wherever you have joined from, whether in America, the UK, or in Africa, or somewhere in the Caribbean, this has been Level Up Your Marriage. Until next time, God bless.
All the best.
They can never take the love